Gentlemen, are we ready for some more EU versus NA action?
Absolutely, especially since if EU wins this one, they actually lock themselves in as having the side selection. But if they lose this one, it comes down to the final game.
And everybody wants a final game, right, Vedius?
Yes.
Even you, right, Vedius?
I want that too. I'm
Okay.
fine if G2 lose this game, but we can't be the only... Someone has to go 3-0, and I'd rather it be Europe than NA.
Well, I'm trying to make up for Jat being a traitor earlier by getting a little bit of traitor from you two here cheering against your own region. So we'll see how that works out. We're gearing up for our next match. This pits the two perceived best teams from each region, Team Liquid and G2 Esports, against one another.
Yeah, and Jankos, after his game today, said in the interview that he definitely thinks that TL look like the best performing team from NA right now. And TL could keep the dreams, like we said before, of NA winning the groups alive.
All right, let's go ahead and see how they're approaching the bans this time around. First ban from Team Liquid, targeting that top laner from G2 in Wunder, keeping the Aatrox out of the available pool.
Yeah, and Wunder's been performing like a beast, and I think that making him play something else besides the 2 Aatrox games that he has shown he can decimate top laners on is a good move here from TL.
I also think that you need to show that respect towards Jankos, the West's best Braum. He definitely had a good performance on it earlier, but it's not the only champion that can be funneled. Right now, it doesn't look like G2 are heading in that direction, but with champions like Morgana and Tahm Kench still available, it's something you always have to keep your mind open to.
Yeah, there's still a lot left up. You have to worry about the Heimerdinger for Hjarnan as well. Kaisa on the table. Things like Talia too. So there's a lot left up here because of the target bans from TL.
Really like to see the Team Liquid first pick here onto the Kaisa. We know Doublelift likes to play this champion. We also know that it is a wonderful champion to receive all the resources in a funnel, which G2 seems to excel at. Team Liquid picking this up for themselves, as well as going for that deny, but there's the Heimerdinger we're talking about. G2 lock it in along with the Trundle.
Someone's record is going to be ruined today because Hjarnan has a 100% win rate on this Heimer, but Doublelift has a 100% win rate on his Kaisa too, so someone's going to be sad. I can't wait to see who it is.
Those are always the fun kind of matchups when you put the two 100% on the line. Both teams full faith in themselves.
And they're against each other. You're imagining that this Heimer will be going down into the bot lane. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Initially, you would give priority over to the Heimer, but the supports are going to be a big determining factor. And with so many taken off the board, I'd love to see Liquid grab themselves something like an Alistar, or maybe even the Morgana themselves very early on.
Yeah, you have to go for a little bit more, something that has defensive capabilities and can play kind of back, but then has engage potential to catch the Heimerdinger out and make a snap engage happen. And that's what I would assume TL will go for. Protection might be the name of the game here, and just looking for scaling potentially.
Off the bench goes the Kench. Team Liquid lock that one in, really favoring keeping that Kaisa alive. Can also be useful for helping the Zoe get out of sticky situations. Remember, the ultimate isn't really an escape tool because it brings her back to where she started from, so we'll see how well that can be used to keep those two in a good spot away from the damage potential of G2, who lock in the Yasuo.
Ooh, Perkz playing the Yasuo. Not a champion that he commonly goes towards. He often prefers the hyperscaling range carries when he's going to go for those late kind of playmakers. But locking himself in the Yasuo, a part of this is him saying, Caps, I can do it too, but I also think that they want that 80 damage, and they consider a pretty good matchup into the Zoe as well.
Exactly. It'll help them against the Kaisa in the late game through the wind wall to shut it down because Braum is not available. Plus, like you said, diversifies the damage palette too, so not heralding into full AP compositions like we have multiple times today.
All right, boys, let's head into the second part of the ban, see what we're looking at for these teams and what they're targeting here. Kindred removed by G2 Esports. Team Liquid deciding to get rid of that Pike. And I remember you specifically talking, Vedius, about how this is a champion that we see a lot in EU, we don't see in NA. Team Liquid has adapted to this. They're saying, all right, you play it, we respect that, get it out of the pool.
The other champion you really have to be careful of if you're a North American fan is Fiddlesticks, a champion that over in Europe we've loved a lot and has commonly been paired up with the Heimerdinger because of the sheer amount of crowd control and push that you have with the instant fear, the silence on the crows, the amount of CC that you can get and utility from the Heimer as well. It is a very obnoxious lane to deal with, and with it not taken off the board, I wouldn't be surprised to see Wadid pick that one up.
Gives you a really good form of CC that's very reliable, especially against something like the Kaisa, which becomes incredibly slippery with Killer Instinct and the stealth on Supercharger. But it's a different type of engage here for G2. Also sets up Perkz potentially on the Yasuo later.
And whenever you've got the Yasuo, you like seeing the knock-up combinations. Sure, you can throw out the Tornado, sure you can give him the Hasaki, but sometimes you just need a little bit of help to make sure you can set up the big move.
And if Perkz is playing this Yasuo in the mid lane and this isn't something where they're flexing stuff around, Trundle plus Yasuo is a very easy level 6 gank. Pillar into the last breath, onto the Zoe can actually end up in a kill very quickly, so you always have to be conscious of that. It's funny because Trundle is not a quote-unquote CC jungler, but there's a lot of champions like Swain and Yasuo that can benefit from his pillar.
Ooh, if FLICKR lock this one in, it is a big gamble going up against Wunder, because back in last split when Gangplank was a very popular top lane pick, Wunder would always go for things like Fiora and Camille as an answer. He loves these skill matchups in the top lane. It is his forte, and I imagine that he is more than happy to go up against the former world champion.
Well, they have decided to lock that one in on the side of Team Liquid. They're saying, all right, if you want to battle in the top lane, that's what it's going to be. Impact piloting the Gangplank, and the choice for G2 Esports will be the Swain.
Swain in the top lane, potentially? I mean, there
Would
is still
expect that, yeah. While there is opportunity to flex it, just Hjarnan's Heimerdinger is just a little too scary to not give it to him. I think the reason for the Swain is that they wanted a little bit more team fight damage. They didn't want to run the risk of going for split push. And also the thing about Gangplank is he's always been known for not having a huge laning phase in terms of pressure or push. So when you pair it up against the Swain, who kind of wants to scale, kind of wants a fairly passive laning phase, the Gangplank gives you more of an opportunity to go for that scaling option, where G2 will be looking to have more of an impact around 2 items.
Yeah, and once again, the Trundle synergized with both the solo laners of G2, Swain and Yasuo. So these are pretty easy ganks that'll come through, even post, or pre-level 6 for the Yasuo, even before that for the Swain, who can just make it very easy to just pull off the pillar. And the coaches shake hands. And we get on to this where the 2-2-0 teams, undefeated Rift Rival teams, go head-to-head.
Undefeated Rift Rival teams, as we already said, perceived strongest teams from their regions, both topping the standings currently in their domestic leagues. And we'll see how they do head-to-head here in what could be the determining game of the group stage of Rift Rivals. If EU wins, if G2 walk away with the win here, they clinch that victory for the Europeans. But Team Liquid have it in their hands to potentially stop them right here and right now.
I'm looking forward to this game. Both teams looking very strong so far in this tournament. G2, I feel like they have a pretty comfortable composition. Not quite funnel, but comfort picks really across the board. And for Team Liquid, things are looking very standard on their side.
And we actually heard from 100 Thieves bottom lane, who have a strategy against G2's special Heimer pick.
Who is going to be the toughest? Well, if your boy Hjarnan pulls out Heimer, I'm going to FF at 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm not playing against Heimer.
Yeah, they can FF if you pick Heimer and Fiddle, that's for sure, yeah. They have no chance. I mean, it's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about Heimer and Fiddle, it's just all about Heimer, so, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what I pick or play, you know, like, just Hjarnan is 1v2 and, like, I'm just enjoying my life, so...
You can't lose to it if you just FF instead. 100 Thieves getting on the next level mental. 4D chess right there on Summoner's Rift, but we'll see if that strategy ends up being what Team Liquid goes for. I have just this creeping suspicion they're going to try something else.
Yeah, I don't think they want to. I don't think they're going to FF. We've already passed the 1 minute mark, so we're safe. It feels like they're coming.
Okay,
with a
we've
little
made
more
it
confidence.
past.
Yeah. But
That was 100 Thieves strategy. It's
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
NA strategy in general.
So for Team Liquid, though, in terms of their early game, it looks like they're not trying to do anything suspicious. They wanted to get a bit of an idea as to where Jankos is starting. Having that information is always valuable. And they should have a rough estimate that he is starting towards the top side, which means that that bot Scuttle Crab will likely be the priority for Jankos to help give a little bit more safety for Hjarnan and Wadid, who are going to be constantly pushing right from the get-go.
Yeah, and I want to see what Xmithie does here on this Gragas, because he got banned out a little bit and pushed down the tier list to the Gragas, which did get buffed. It got range buffs on the W, a few buffs as well as the Drunken Rage in general. And another thing about this pick is the Heimerdinger, very low mobility, doesn't have protection in this composition. You have a GP that will focus his ultimate on top of the Heimer almost every fight, and then you have a Gragas which will look to section him off with the explosive cask. So a lot of this composition for TL in the later part of the draft, their last 2 picks, are focused on actually making sure Hjarnan doesn't have an easy time navigating the mid game.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the cool interactions as well is the Gangplank ulti is going to very quickly kill those turrets, and a Gragas ultimate will spread them all apart. So when Hjarnan's trying to set up a nice team fight where he can deal all this damage, he won't have that freedom because of the amount of disruption that Team Liquid's composition does have. So I think these team fights are going to be exciting to watch later on into the game, but in terms of the early game, I'm curious as to whether there is actually that much action available, because on the side of G2, Trundle has a lot of good setup with both the Swain and Yasuo once he hits level 6. So if we're going to see early pressure, I kind of expect it from G2, whereas Team Liquid, they want to scale a little bit more. They want Doublelift to complete his Rage Blade, they want Pobelter to get his Luden's Echo, and Gangplank, he's more working towards that Trinity Force rather than early snowballing, lots of kills to the side of Team Liquid.
So far, things are pretty easy going. We saw both junglers just trade opposite sides scuttle crabs. Nobody's really looking for a gank just yet. You will see Pobelter shoving Perkz in right now as he decides to return a little bit of damage towards his opponent. Throws out the wind wall, gets a little bit down there, but nothing really to write home about just yet. And it seems like that passive start is just going to continue as we move along.
It's mostly on the junglers here. I actually think that Jankos has really good gank paths into the top lane if the GP pushes up, but right now, Impact is actually doing a really good job up against Wunder, who doesn't have the Resolve tree as a secondary tree, which you usually take in bad matchups for yourself. He has the Inspiration tree, so he doesn't have the Chrysalis plus the Bone Plating. So he's getting parlayed quite a bit here, and Impact actually got a red pot very early on, so he had all this extra AD in the lane, which allowed him to get a little bit more pressure than you normally would have.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised because typically Gangplanks in what can be challenging matchups, you'd go like Grasp of the Undying to have a little bit more sustain and trading power. But given the pokes that he has with Parlay and the fact that he's setting up barrels pretty aggressively, he's going with the Klepto, and it's so far working out quite nicely for him in this early game. But Wunder's not going to be too upset. The farm is still relatively even. Nothing too exciting happening across the board. Just a lot of pings coming down as to where either jungler may be on the map.
Yeah, Impact just is kind of farming right now, has a wave slow pushing towards him.
And while Impact did take a more aggressive keystone than what may be expected otherwise, I'm also looking at the aggressive summoner spells picked in the mid lane here. Ignite versus Ignite on these mid laners. Both want to make sure they've got the damage to make that solo kill happen if they see that window present itself. Perkz hitting level 5 now, finding the knock up onto Pobelter as well.
I mean, if you're a Yasuo player, you're going to be looking for kills.
It comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory.
Speaking of looking for kills, Xmithie finding Jankos in the jungle, who was actually pushed up because there was pressure from Perkz in the mid lane.
Nothing really going to come of it, though. Jankos just moves up, takes the last couple of chickens, gets himself out. No worries.
Keep your eyes on the minimap as well. Wadid looking for roams. This is something that we see a lot in Europe, where you send your bot laner to basically 1 versus 2 while the support roams around the map, especially around our mid laners, as Europe is quite known for that respective role. But we may see a bit of action in mid now.
Xmithie with a flash gang, looking to make the moves onto Perkz. Pobelter wants to follow it up. He finds the first blood and gets back over the wall, but he will fall down to that Ignite that you were talking about, Vedius.
Yeah, the Ignite comes through. Perkz with the aggressive summoner spells. Pobelter got kind of a free flash there, picked up off the ground to try and get away, but it wasn't quite enough. And that was honestly just so close, where Xmithie got into the mid lane before he was spotted by Jankos, because it looked like the coast was clear.
Coast is not clear in the bottom lane, and Doublelift gets deleted by a rocket barrage. Hjarnan on that Heimerdinger. That's what they're talking about.
So what Hjarnan did is he threw the grenade, then he put down the turret. What you want to do is throw the spell as it's in the air and you're going to hit confirm it. You put down your turret because it will throw out the beam immediately. If you put a turret down by itself, it'll just start shooting. But then you charge it if you land the spell. So when we see the replay, you'll see that he already puts the turret down as the grenade is coming out, and that's what you want to do to get the maximum amount of damage out of Heimerdinger.
You know, and I read all these comments about people saying you can't give Doublelift Kai'Sa. Well, guys, you can't give Hjarnan his Heimerdinger. This guy is a solo queue machine. He's been playing this champion to Challenger for the last couple of years. He's been training for this meta ever since this day, and now that training has finally come into fruition. So we're going to take a look back at this mid lane fight where things all started off. The pathing from Xmithie, he just uses the darkness to get in behind Perkz. Perkz thinks he's fine because he has Jankos right behind him, but then the damage combined with Xmithie and Pobelter is enough to secure the kill. Fortunately, with the Ignite, they have enough. But Zyrene, this is what you were talking about.
Yeah, it goes in, and you see Hjarnan's going to throw the grenade, then put the fully charged turret down, which then will throw out the beam and do all of that extra damage. So that's the perfect Heimerdinger combo that you can get at that level.
Grenade, Ignite, beam, everything from the rockets as well as impact. It's absolutely destroyed by Wunder in the 1v1.
Ooh, Wunder getting a solo kill onto Impact. He wanted to prove himself here at Rift Rivals. He wanted to show that he is one of the best top laners in the world. And after his last Worlds performance on Splice, he didn't really get to debut that, so by joining G2 and developing over the last year, this is his first opportunity to prove that, and so far he's having a great start this game.
Definitely can't complain about that. You're the one who mentioned the danger of picking the Gangplank into Wunder, Vedius. It's almost like daring him, hey, pick a skill matchup into this. Let's go carry versus carry, none of this tanky meatball stuff. And sure enough, Wunder answers the call, and he does it in style. The first 2 games, he was on the Aatrox, he was on a Rampage. They banned the Aatrox this time around, and he answers perfectly. Doesn't miss a beat.
He's obviously not a one-trick player or anything like that. Wunder is actually fantastic. And like Betty said, wanted to prove himself here. And so far, he's already been dominating the competition.
Now Team Liquid are at a slight early game deficit. It's not too big, fortunately, because Impact running the Kleptomancy is still keeping that gold relatively even. The bot lane farm is still going fine for Team Liquid, and even though they're down a couple kills, their option to scale is still very good. Kind of, we look at their team fighting, we already talked about it earlier on Zyrene, where the amount of disruption and the amount of damage they actually have in these fights is still something that G2 have to respect. So with the early lead that G2 have, they now need to keep trying to push this advantage. Their goal should be to try and get this bot tower down as quickly as possible so that they can open up the map and start moving this Heimerdinger around.
Yeah, it's about damage control for Team Liquid on the opposite side, though, making sure nothing more happens to their lanes, because you said they want to scale. It comes down to just make sure that you can get to that point and don't be that aggressive unless you have Xmithie, who was part of the reason they got their first kill, but hasn't been able to show up in these lanes. Everybody's just dying on the sides.
And speaking of dying in the side lanes, I really want to bring this up because Gangplank is a champion that all too often you see him get behind with quotation marks, but he's not really behind because he's Gangplank with parlay money and kleptomancy money and all these extra sources of gold. But Impact is so far behind in terms of the kills and in terms of the farm. He's actually down 600 gold right now. He is almost the entirety of the gold difference in this game so far, and that's just sitting in this 1v1 against Wunder Swain.
So I misspoke earlier, thinking that he was the one keeping the gold gap relatively close, but as you identified, that deficit coming in the top lane could very well hurt Team Liquid as the game progresses, but it's all about how proactive can G2 be, because right now, they are setting up for a play on bot. Doublelift is taking a lot of poke, and Jankos is hanging off in the flanks with a Perkz roaming down as well.
Yeah.
This is potentially disastrous for Team Liquid here.
Wadid has the engage to set up the last breath. He wants to flash. And looks like they call it off.
Good ward over the wall from Team Liquid, just making sure they're very, very aware of their surroundings.
I think that's showing respect towards the fact that Impact does have his ultimate up, and when you're trying to dive a Tahm Kench, he's not that squishy. He does have the gray health, and he can consume Doublelift to keep him alive for longer, so G2 just showed their presence. They had a window of opportunity. They didn't try to force it too much, and Team Liquid walk away happy as they didn't lose anybody's life.
And I like G2 demonstrating patience there. All too often, sometimes you see these bottom lane dives turn into full fiestas as a team decides, nope, we already decided we're going to make a play here, and darn it, we're going through with it. But not this time around. G2 willing to play that patience game, scale up, allow Hjarnan's Heimerdinger to just keep getting stronger. He is ever so slightly ahead in terms of CS, but when you can find the grenades into the beams, into the rockets like that, you know he's going to make some plays happen later. Really liking what we're seeing from this unusual pick that, honestly, NA teams never play against whatsoever. We talked about the Pike in Champion Select, banning that one away because you're not used to it, but Heimerdinger is just a whole nother monster.
I mean, it's one of the cool things about Europe, but we might not have time for that as Pobelter could be in trouble.
Pobelter flashing over the pillar, getting himself away. Tries to redirect the Paddlestar, but it's going to be blocked up by the wind wall. Xmithie hangs around just to make sure they don't try to re-engage on this one. Helps him push the wave out, and they all walk away. Pobelter's flash, the cost of that.
So a bit more pressure being applied in the mid lane from the side of G2. They wanted to try and set up Perkz, get him a couple more kills, get him towards that first major item in what will likely be the Phantom Dancer, but after burning us up as well, Pobelter will be fine. I'd love to see now a return gank from Jankos. His game has kind of slowed down. I mean, we've had a pretty slow early game so far, especially relative to a lot of the other games that we have seen today. A lot of them have been bloodbaths, especially the one just before this, where Fnatic was finding kills all across the board. G2 and Team Liquid a little bit more reserved in where they look to try and play.
I mean, hey, we already said it. This is the game that could determine whether or not the group's outcome ends right here. I can understand playing it a bit safer as Wunder decides to go a little bit further in onto Impact. Gets off one more Death's Hand before heading back towards his own minion wave, continuing to apply auto attacks to the turret the entire time. And Impact just has not stopped struggling in this top lane.
And it's going pretty bad here, but they're focusing the bottom side. Now, Xmithie's going to be transported in.
Olleh and Xmithie going in onto that Heimerdinger, looking to burst him down. They got him. No way to get away from that one. A nice collapse from Team Liquid.
So Hjarnan didn't actually have his ultimate available. I thought in this situation, maybe he could look for a 1 versus 3 outplay, as Heimerdingers often do in your solo queue games, but Team Liquid very aware that without that ability available, they can look to lock him down. And with the Tahm Kench flank coming in from behind, Hjarnan didn't really want to run the risk of using his flash and dying anyway, so he ends up losing his life, and Team Liquid get another kill on the board.
Yeah, but that's that top turret. First turret going over to Wunder, who's just been absolutely performing incredibly well here at Rift Rivals overall, and they're going to put down the Rift Arrow. That'll be another turret, the mid one going down now.
Nice.
Let's think it somehow
Rift
stop
Arrow here should be able to take the turret down rather easily. Nearly gets it with that first charge, and the rest of G2 will make sure that it is reduced to rubble. Shelly wanting to move up and try to stop. Does manage to hit the tier 2, and with the changes to Rift Herald, that is important because it will knock off about 40% of that turret's HP. Wunder might be in some trouble here now. Impact finds a little bit more damage, but won't be able to pressure any further. Jankos and Wadid hanging out on the side, looking to steal away the blue buff as well as back up their top lane.
Note how G2 are utilizing the pressure that they have from the waves. They didn't have any priority bot, but they recognized that they could have a numbers advantage elsewhere on the map. Wunder now getting very low.
Gotta watch it.
Pack tries to go in and make the play on this one, but the stopwatch will stop him in his tracks. Wunder flashing away, and Impact can't find the kill.
Impact flashed as well to try and get the last trial by fire on it, but it's not enough. And he knew that they were in that area. He knew there was backup around, and I think he's just trying to overplay the situation because of what happened earlier.
He seems desperate to get himself back into the game. 40 CS down, 0-2 on a carry top laner. This isn't a meatball. This isn't an Ornn. This isn't press R in a team fight and CC everyone. He needs gold to be effective as Hjarnan drops down some turrets to escape Olleh. The big beam comes through.
Oh, there it is.
Doublelift makes his way into the fight. The cavalry arrives. And now Wadid is caught in a 1 versus 2. Olleh trying to walk out of the way of the vision of Empire. Doublelift still thinking about maybe making more happen here, but with Wunder coming down, Team Liquid decides to get out.
G2 Wadid does still have the flash available, but the bot lane of Team Liquid are very quick to disengage. Another kill, or his first kill of the game now onto Doublelift. This could be the start for Team Liquid as Hjarnan ends up getting punished, thinking that Doublelift wouldn't be able to help his support in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, and now Doublelift has the completed Rage Blade, has some extra daggers on top of that, and that's going to get him really close to having that supercharge as that evolution. He's 4% attack speed away, so one more item, one little completion, or a few more levels.
Team Liquid may have found themselves the kill, but because G2 had the bodies in the area, they had control over that part of the map. They were able to secure Infernal Drake #1 for themselves, get some extra damage on everybody on this team. And when you look at a team with a Swain and a Yasuo and a Heimerdinger, that's a lot of offensive capability to be multiplied by that neutral buff.
And note how many resources they're putting into Doublelift. Impact giving over his farm to make sure that the Kai'Sa is getting what she can, but now Olleh, he could be in trouble.
Olleh, nice flash away from the combo from the Alistar, still going to be chased down, and they decide that is the sacrificial catfish. No way out of a 1 versus 4. They'll see him here in about 25 seconds, but Perkz will add 300 gold to his inventory.
Yeah, he was trying to make a semi-global play there with the ultimate, but got caught by the Vision of Empire from Wunder, who seriously has been doing so well. 40 CS up for himself, just been dominating that top lane matchup. And after breaking that turret, he's now freed up to roam about the map. We saw him break up the fight that happened bottom, and he just started a fight on the middle side of the map too. So very present all across the map now on this swing.
But now look at the roams from Wadid and Perkz. They have their eyes set on the bot lane. They want to put Impact even further behind.
And that turret's almost dead too.
Yeah, Impact doesn't have much of a turret to hide under, but he still has enough of one to scare the G2 members away from trying to make some sort of a 2 versus 1 happen. And Impact is just trying to find farm wherever he can right now, and I like that G2 is still paying attention to that and looking to block him out of this game, make that Gangplank a complete non-factor.
I mean, we're approaching 17 minutes into the game, and he's yet to complete his Trinity Force, while so many other members of his team have completed their first major item. So if they can keep that power spike away from him for as long as possible, G2 are going to be quite happy, especially with the Rod of Ages stacking up on Wunder.
Yeah, he's 1,000 gold behind his own mid laner. He's almost 1,800 gold behind Wunder, his lane opponent. So Impact is very, very far down. But at the same time, Doublelift is up 700 gold for himself. And that's kind of the person that you have to watch in this composition, because the GP and the Gragas feel like they're a lot about keeping the Heimerdinger down and Doublelift keeping him afloat.
And we talked about it in draft. Doublelift's Kai'Sa versus Hjarnan's Heimerdinger. The fact that they're both at a 100% win rate without their respective regions is just such a big deal. They're both so comfortable on the champions. And while I don't expect those two to be the deciding factor,
Olleh
plays the one.
Olleh coming in for the collapse onto Wunder here. Remember, he doesn't have a stopwatch available any longer. Doublelift looking to put the damage into him, but he's just so damn hard to kill. TP coming in now for G2, trying to make something happen here. Doublelift deciding it's not worth it. He's going to bail out with the TP. Leave his teammates to die. They've already lost Impact, and Olleh will follow shortly thereafter. A disaster for Team Liquid.
Abort! Abort! Yeah!
See you guys later.
I recognize the situation, and a smart man knows when to retreat. Doublelift trying to keep himself alive, and he does so as the rest of Team Liquid are falling apart.
Perkz with a nice initiation there onto Xmithie, who tries to use the flash to get himself out of this one, but there's no way away from that sticky Yasuo, who picks up another kill for himself. 3-1 now for Perkz.
Yeah, and that even gets the flash from Xmithie as well as the ultimate. And right here, one more time, they want to get in there. They use the ultimates from both the GP and the Tahm Kench, and just not enough damage here. Wunder,
no damage.
Yeah,
He's just immune.
I mean, he's got the Rod of Ages stacking, and he already has boots too, and he's just walking straight out of it. And I love that Doublelift just gets out of there.
I mean, he was going to die, right?
Yeah,
I guess
he's like, I might as well.
But
that's one where he could potentially trade
Maybe.
1-for-1 onto Wunder there, but it's just not worth it if you're the Kai'Sa that's trying to scale up.
Yeah, so he tried his best, but he ends up walking away and surviving. And looking across the board now, Team Liquid are a pretty significant deficit. That 1k gold deficit is now extended to 3k. Perkz has picked up even more kills and is working towards what I imagine is the Infinity Edge. And G2, with their gold lead, are looking to press the division and extend this advantage even further.
Impact in some trouble here with Did coming in from the side. Jankos also here as Perkz will supply the damage, and Impact once again finds himself with a screen of black and white, 0, 4, and 0 on this Gangplank. As we take a look at a replay of a solo kill that happened while we were in a previous replay, as Pobelter gets him with the game.
Woo, bopped him there, and then on the opposite side of the map, down bottom, Doublelift gets the solo kill onto Wunder, who doesn't have his ultimate backup from the last fight. So that time, he is taking damage.
Yeah, he makes up for it. Like, I abandoned you guys before, but I was able to make up for it now. Secures a kill onto Wunder. Gets a bit of shutdown gold, too. You got to remember that now with the 2 kills, we talked about it at the top of the show as well, getting more gold, more funneled into that Kai'Sa is definitely a situation that Team Liquid want to find themselves in.
It's definitely a tactical retreat.
Yeah.
Let them win the battle, try to win the war.
That seems to be the strategy for now. Team Liquid still fighting from a deficit of a little bit over 3,000 gold, down 1 turret compared to 3, 0 Drakes compared to 2. They got a long way to go to come back into this game, and G2 seems to be playing this well enough that it's going to be hard for Liquid to find those windows.
Yeah, and I like the Pobelter off on the side, gets him another turret. But I'm looking at Xmithie's items right now. Zhonya's Hourglass, second item after the Cinder Hulk. So no multipliers behind it, but hold on. Woo! Just shut down.
EU mid laners, man. And to be fair, 4-1 Yasuo, that probably helps as well. Level 14 on the Perkz. Finds Pobelter just trying to push up the top wave. He takes the tower, but now G2, they have their eyes set on this Baron. Heimerdinger plus a Trundle is going to take this relatively quickly, but Team Liquid, they have to answer.
Liquid knows that this game is going to turn from difficult to nigh impossible if they just give away a Baron for free at 21 minutes. G2 still looking to go for it, going to be taking a lot of damage from that. In goes the Kench, and out he goes immediately. A killing spree now. G2 take down another member of Team Liquid. It's a 5 versus 3. They've secured the Baron for themselves. Impact is nearly going to be killed again flashes over the wall, manages to escape for now, but Wunder's got the follow-up into the Death's Hand. 3 dead members of Liquid, 2 now as one just manages to respawn in the form of Pobelter. Xmithie wants to get away with the blast cone, but he finds his way right into Perkz. Drops the barrel as he tries to make the escape, but it's not going to happen today, and Perkz is dominating as G2 is in complete control of this game.
And G2 take absolutely everything. The kills, the Baron, the towers. This gold lead has snowballed out of control, and what was hopefully a scaling teamfight composition from Team Liquid is starting to crumble under the pressure of G2.
It's definitely hard to scale when you're 0-5-0 on this Gangplank, and we're seeing Perkz hit that 100% crit area with 2 items. Phantom Dancer, IE, and now we'll see what he does up against Doublelift. Good dodge with the Killer Instinct, the auto to get the plasma, but he doesn't have mana.
Doublelift, no way out of this one, most likely until Olleh shows up. Can he keep him alive long enough? They will! The shutdown goes over to Pobelter, but Doublelift still has only 100 HP remaining. He needs to avoid the damage here. Wunder still looking to come in, find the never move, will not connect it onto Pobelter as Jankos comes around from behind on the flank, manages to find his way onto Olleh. They will secure both of these kills. Doublelift gets out yet again, but at the cost of 2 teammates.
How does he keep doing that? Doublelift, he just pulls a Houdini and he disappears. Whenever his teammates are in danger, he's just like, hey guys, thanks for sacrificing again. I'm out of here. They do walk away with a kill onto Perkz, but as you said, Flowers, losing 2 members means that G2 with the Baron buff have their eyes set on this mid-inhib tower.
And they've got that Heimer to continue pushing, continue exerting that incredible zone control the champion is known for, and Liquid can't even begin to approach to defend that inhibitor that will go down just 23 minutes into this game. G2 is playing fast, they are playing fierce, and this is a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and we are seeing just kind of the pressure that's coming out from all the sides. And Perkz with that Yasuo, but the Doublelift almost getting the complete outplay here. It was very close to see the Ignite is ticking down. And yeah, couldn't actually find where he was there because of the supercharged stealth. The ultimate comes out, and then it was just the save to boot. And I love that Doublelift was getting out. I think this is really smart from him.
For sure.
Being able to save himself multiple times, because those are 2 kills that should have gone over to G2, because it could have been a worse situation.
And Pobelter picks himself up 800 gold, right? That's that shutdown bounty going in his favor, so grabbing that up for himself is still a pretty happy thing to have, but the reality is G2 still find themselves another 2 kills. They're still at a 7,000 gold lead, and with Baron unavailable right now, it did result in a mid-inhibitor going down, but it means that you'll start to see G2 split up the map more, grouping up towards one side lane, send someone like Wunder or Perkz off onto the other side, and maybe even Hjarnan as he has the TP, and start making their way towards these next few games.
Yeah, G2 are just doing fantastically across the board. Perkz is level 16, he's 2 levels up over Pobelter, the next highest person. But, ooh,
Flash away there to keep himself safe from the initiation potential of Team Liquid. Perkz staying alive, 6-2-1 on the Yasuo, 2.5 items fully completed there. As Team Liquid braces for the defense of a lifetime, it's 10 seconds left in the Baron buff, and G2 intends to use all 10 seconds of it. Hjarnan continuing to place down these Heimerdinger turrets, constantly providing that threat. Perkz over the wall, just waiting for the opportunity to dash in there and make something happen. There's no one on Team Liquid that can stand up to this Yasuo right now, especially not Impact's Gangplank that has still not been able to find his footing in this game. Another minion wave colliding here in the top lane as they look to go in. They find the knock-up. Olleh going to be in some trouble. Wadid in the front line. Perkz grabbing the kill onto Olleh, but he goes down. That's a pretty big kill now for Liquid, but they lose Pobelter. Impact running away off the side. It's Doublelift against the world, but he's nearly destroyed by the power of the ultimate from Wunder. Swain, as now they'll lose Impact as well, and Team Liquid has only 2 men standing against the 4-man tide of G2 Esports.
The front line of Team Liquid is not strong enough to allow Doublelift to turn the fight in their favor. Now with 4 members, G2 have the Nexus set in their eyes.
Nexus turret number 1 already down. Number 2 under fire. Doublelift now pressured by multiple members. He's escaped so many times this game, but there's nowhere left to run now. It's Nexus or nothing. Xmithie taken down by Jankos as Wunder finally falls. It's Doublelift grabbing the kill on that one. Olleh with another big save. Doublelift still looking to find the kills and find the damage. He does manage to find that onto the enemy support, but they've got to take out these remaining 2 carries. Doublelift gets beamed to death, and Hjarnan makes that damage happen. Jankos with the kill.
Pobelter still trying to stop these guys. The Paddlestar won't find the mark. The minions and G2 are still making the plays happen. Pobelter falls to summon Airy as Hjarnan remains standing. Impact tries to chase him down. Jankos doesn't even care about the Nexus. They just want Impact. He continues chomping. He continues bonking. And G2 take the ace. And that's Europe winning the group stage and getting the first 3 picks when they go head-to-head tomorrow. Whew. And they won that in style. Yeah. That didn't look like a close contest between the top 2 teams. That looked like G2 teaching everybody a lesson in how to win a game of League of Legends.
Yeah, G2 were kind of expected to be one of the big favorites coming into the tournament, and with a performance like that against who is expected to be North America's strongest representative is definitely a big confidence booster to many of the European fans. And they did it without the funnel, you know? They picked effort, they did it with the Heimerdinger. We saw Wunder bringing out something that wasn't the Aatrox, and they had a good performance. And a lot of it came off the back of just Wunder dominating through the top lane.
Yeah, and there's so many people who did well. Like you're talking about, Wunder dominated Impact, 0, 7, and 1 for him in this game. And he's supposed to be somebody who's supposed to scale up, and they weren't running a funnel, right? He could get help from Xmithie. I think Jankos is a big unsung hero here. The Trundle did so much to keep up the pace of the game, to go to the right lanes and put pressure on Xmithie and keep him out of these lanes. And so he wasn't able to help his scalers at all. And I love that Jankos is swapping between support and funnels and being able to go right back to the jungle. It was an impressive win from G2, but for more on how EU locked first place in the group stage, let's send it over to Olleh and the Heimer god himself.
Thanks, guys. Hjarnan, congratulations on the win. Now, was the game over as soon as you locked in Heim?
I mean, I think I played pretty bad this game overall. This was I think it was my worst Heimer game so far, actually. So, I mean, yeah, I know we will win, but it was not my best performance, that's for sure, yeah.
Where you were still able to bring him out and show everyone in NA how he is played. But with this, EU went ahead and won groups and the the advantage to counter pick in tomorrow's regional best of 5s. How are you guys going to use that to EU's advantage?
Not sure, actually. I mean, I'm not that super, like, how do I say it, like, I don't know, actually, like, I don't know how it works exactly, but I think it's, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I guess it's bad, good, yeah, for us, so I don't know. I have no clue.
You can leave that up to the coaching staff, but you and Wadid are actually going to compete in the Best in the West bot lane gauntlet. Are you guys feeling confident going into that?
And that will be a lot of fun, that's for sure, yeah. I mean, I really want to win it, but I'm not sure, like, it's a blind pick, so the better blind pick will win, most likely, but I will do our best, yeah.
Who are you looking forward to playing against?
We'll play against EU first, right, I think? I think so, yeah. I mean, Bippo and Hylesang will be fun, for sure. They're really good, I think, so it'll be fun.
Well, I'm wishing you the best of luck in that. Thank you. And for more on the game, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Olleh. Well, G2 has done it for EU with the victory here. Again, another very impressive victory for EU over Team Liquid, our #1 seed from NA, and they have locked themselves a win here for the region in the group stages overall.
Not too surprising. There were a bunch of really smart people on this podcast before the tournament started that rated G2 Esports the #1 team coming into this. Some fans were mad that TL was not up there. But I guess we just saw why G2 is the best team. And Mark, you have something to say?
You can't give him Heimer.
There it is. I see you exploding.
Yeah. I mean, we're just trolling. Like every time anything happened this whole game, whether it's dying, getting a kill, it's just because Hjarnan had Heimer.
Because he had Heimer.
Can't give it to him.
Well, let's take a look at what Team Liquid did elect to do. They did decide to take that Aatrox away from Wunder. That's one thing we've been asking teams to do. But of course, the Heimerdinger, the Swain still left up.
And I think a big part of this is Team Liquid did have the power picks that they wanted to go for. Obviously, jungle was pinched a lot in the draft, but they got Zoe, they got Kai'Sa, and they got Gangplank. Those are all very effective Team Liquid power picks. However, G2 had very good answers for all of those picks. The Heimer was making it difficult for Doublelift to get fed. The Yasuo was going crazy, and the biggest thing was Swain decimating the GP.
Good old Wunder. What a tournament so far. He's definitely not afraid of the NA top laners or Phoenix that for some reason was up there against him in the previous game. Any top laner.
One of the many.
I think just overall the G2 draft allowed multiple players to actually carry, which was a big deal for them because both the Swain and the Yasuo got super, super fed. And Jankos is not on Braum, but on Trundle, kind of same deal for him. He walks in pillars once, boom, Yasuo ult is in, and then you would just win the fight.
Swain and Yasuo got fed. Let's take a look at how they got fed.
Yay.
Liquid, some questionable decision-making multiple times throughout this game.
This was bad.
Oh, Mark, what do you want to say here?
Can't give him Heimer. If you give him Heimer, he'll bait recall you, and you'll walk into auto attack range of an Alistar who will combo you to death. Yeah,
top die.
Yeah, this is a top dive, but I mean, outside that one first death that we've shown, a lot of this was G2 actually just having a better understanding of the plays that were happening. Like here, there was a pink ward that was on blue buff just a second ago, and Impact multiple times has gotten people very close to dying, but just keeps getting outplayed. Here, once again, Wunder is able to stay alive, and they get that kill. And that's kind of how a lot of these happen.
I mean, even this one, they try and send 3 people for him, but Impact and Olleh are actually just chasing and maybe getting a Q off while Doublelift tries to auto-attack. It's not enough, so much so that Doublelift goes, oh no, I'm not staying around for this. This will be 3 deaths instead of 2. And it was still 2, so that was still not great. Look at that. And Dash, looking at this PGB, you can see G2 easily took control of the game. And if you call your mind back to the start of the day, me and Vedius proclaimed that EU was greater than NA.
I'm Vedius now.
If you remember, I was called a traitor. EU's now won the group stage.
Yeah.
I just need to let you know that I'm not a traitor. I was just right. And I want to give this to you.
To me?
So you never call me a traitor again for my correct analysis.
I appreciate the gift, but I don't see how being right
you not have one of
being
those?
a traitor are exclusive of each other. Like that, just you can very much be both things at the same time, Jad.
I was more right. Like, what is this?
Also, that's
I was
very
true.
You're 4 for 4 right now.
4-0 on the prediction.
Like, you got NA.
He's a traitor too, man.
I'm not a traitor. I just.
Does anybody have a Sharpie?
You don't believe in NA and they won.
I need to edit this real quick.
It's behind glass. Dash, so
I'm gonna draw right over the top.
Thank God you didn't hand that to me. That's pretty shattered.
Give me a damn Sharpie.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on that.
You keep
but
it's fine.
I am gonna keep this. This is going up in my apartment.
Yeah, no problem.
Jat was something. I don't know what I'm gonna edit
that made
to.
here?
That was made 4 years ago.
Oh, I was like, you got it made now or something. I was like, damn.
Oh my!
There it is an old Jat
this.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are the glory days.
It's a good effort. It's a good effort. I should have dove for it. I'll leave it there. We'll use the commercial break or something.
Leave your heart in the court, James. Get out there. I'm just putting this down.
Oh my goodness, this segment disintegrated quickly. Well, here's the interesting thing though. Because G2 has won the group stage, but we still have one more group stage game to play. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how these two teams, Spliced and 100 Thieves, approach the 5th and final game of the day.
Pretty poorly, most likely, but I think. I mean, both teams have something to prove. You don't want to be the 0-3 team. Levi and Brandini definitely want to show something. I mean, they're obviously playing for a starting spot. And I talked to Splice this morning. They're feeling pretty down. They're like, we just don't want to go 0-4. We just don't want to get a single win for the region. Luckily, there's no pressure now. But still, I definitely expect them to be super try-hard.
Well, I'm interested to see if both teams try hard because this has a lot to think about selection for tomorrow. EU is going to get to counterpick the NA team submission. So
they actually got to counterpick, not counterpick.
If Splice can beat 100 Thieves, then it makes it much more possible for Europe to aggressively go for 3-0 rather than having to throw Splice up against TL and make it go to a 4th and 5th game.
Right, having to cover. All right, well, Jat was right. Mark was righter. 100 Thieves have a chance to pick up some pride for NA as we enter the final matchup of group. See you here for Game 5 after the break.
I don't care about turrets, dude. I'm not an objective player.
I mean,
I'm a mechanical only player. No brains. Only fingers.
Xmithie with a flash gang, looking to make the moves onto Perkz. Pobelter wants to follow it up. He finds the first blood and gets back over the wall, but he will fall down to that ignite. Olleh, the big beam comes through. There it is. Doublelift makes his way into the fight. The cavalry arrives.
Zoe, stop, not TP, Zoe.
Gragas mid.
Oh, Tingo.
I am out, guys.
I'm gonna go chase this.
I'm going this guy.
Perkz got the kill onto Olleh, but he goes down. That's a pretty big kill now for Liquid, but they lose Pobelter. Impact running away off the side. It's Doublelift against the world, but he's nearly destroyed by the power of the